Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. I'm your host for the next 2 hours. The show is also being broadcast over to UCY.tv. Appreciate that. And, we could probably do 12-hour shows a day in the position that our nations are in right now and the mental apathy of our fellow citizens. But we're going to win this, come hell or high water. I am not a Marxist. I don't intend to be a Marxist. I don't intend to be ruled by Marxists. And we got a lot of work to do yet. I want to apologize to those of you that listen to UCY.tv. I missed my Tuesday and Thursday night shows. I was at all candidates meetings. I'm running in the provincial election for the Libertarian Party. And, it's really, really, really pathetic. I ran as an independent 11 years ago, just to kind of gauge where people's brains were at. Well, they weren't anywhere. Some people in the audience seem to be waking up a little bit, but not near enough, because there's not enough people running in these elections. Now, do I like politics? I spit on politics. It is the most ugly system that you could run into. But if you don't run, if you possess knowledge and you're a researcher and you get what's going on in your nation, and you're one of so many who just likes to bitch and complain and go, oh my God, we're screwed now, or this or that, then all the knowledge in the world you may possess is absolutely 100% useless. Now, I'm really happy I managed to talk a young farmer into running in the provincial election north of me here a bit in the next county. And he wasn't too jacked up about doing it, but he's a smart guy. He knows the whole point is knowing right from wrong. I mean, if you can wrap your brain around that simple idea of the difference between right and wrong, then you find you have a duty. Now, Enos, I think, has 3 or 4 young children. The last, the only one that ever got registered to the government/corporation was his first one. The others have not been registered. And once you register your child, you've actually orphaned your child to the state. And then that child does not, at that point, is not under the child's been taken from your house and put in the government house. And the child is indoctrinated in the school to follow the government house rules, not the family's house rules. And that's a big problem. But this particular election we're running in Ontario here, it's a great opportunity. I'm glad Enos is doing this because he's found out that there's nothing to be nervous about, because that's what stops most people from running. Oh, I wouldn't know what to do. I mean, this is like grade school shit. It is extremely simple. But we got to hold the politicians' feet to the fire. The only way you're going to hold them to the fire, the only way you're going to get any information out to the people is go talk to the people. Now, the problem with these all-candidates meetings is that most of the people that attend these things are fairly elderly. And what's happened here over many decades of socialism being inflicted upon us is people have gone from being independent-minded to groupthink. It's not even groupthink. It's quite pathetic. You go to these all-candidates meetings, and what you hear from the crowd is, "What do you do for me? What do you do for me?" like little kids in a store with their parents. I want that candy, Mommy. I want that candy. You know? And these politicians will tell you any damn thing you want to hear because they've all sold their souls. You can't be a politician and not have sold your soul, at least a politician of the main parties. And one thing I'm trying to get people to understand is that the right-left is not a mistake. It's not by accident. Okay? It was a well-planned system to divide the people. If the population is divided between right and left, or now you've got left and right, and ultra-right and ultra-left, it just continues to divide the people. So the people are fighting amongst themselves. I hate the right. I hate the left. That's ultra-right. That's ultra-left. Paying no attention to what the hell is going on in their nations. You know, this idea of right and left doesn't fly other than to divide and conquer you. And we're being conquered through consent. You know, they have the Hegelian dialect, which is basically, in simple terms, problem, reaction, solution. And what they do is they come up with a problem. One of the things that we're discussing was the closing of the schools in rural Ontario and the infrastructure, the bridges and roads falling apart, that they needed to be fixed. Well, who created the problem? The government. They were closing the schools and letting the infrastructure fall apart. But when they were doing that, the idea was to run people out of rural Ontario and into the cities or into bigger communities where they're more easily controlled. I want to take the whole idea of any independence completely out of your head. So the government now is, not the government, all the parties now are talking about keeping the schools open and fixing the infrastructure. Wait a minute, you let it all deteriorate and you were closing the schools and so many. I was in this farm community that we were doing an all candidates meeting at, and you know, I explained to them, I said, you know, this is all about running you out of the rural areas and into the bigger urban centers. And so why, if that was the plan, all of a sudden they reversed the plan and now they want to keep the schools open and fix the infrastructure? Well, simple. All of the parties, the right, the left parties, the main parties, are all pushing to turn this province into a sanctuary province. So they started with the sanctuary cities, where any illegal can walk into that city, and the cities are harboring illegals. And these illegals, the police don't bother them, nobody bothers them, but they get housing and the food, and, well, they basically become welfare cases the second they walk across the border and into a sanctuary city. And they're being directed by the police in that where these sanctuary cities are. Now they want to turn the whole province into a sanctuary province because they have a program out there that they want to. It's so sad, you know. They're saying, oh, we got so many jobs that aren't filled in rural Ontario. Bull crap to that. We don't have any jobs hardly in rural Ontario anymore. They've gutted us out. So now the plan is to run migrants into rural Ontario, take them out of the cities, and encourage them to move to rural Ontario. So if they turn this province into a sanctuary province, these illegals, you could have 10,000 illegals show up in your town, and you're on the hook for looking after them. As far as Canada is concerned now, we are not a nation any longer. We never really were a nation, but that was the game that was played. But we are most definitely not a nation now because the right, the conservatives, said in 2010, after the G20 meeting, that this is a loss of national sovereignty. Some people don't like it, but it's a simple reality. That was Prime Minister Harper, conservative. Before him, Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, who's a Catholic lawyer, that's a snake and a fox, signed us on to Agenda 21, UN Agenda 21. These are both conservatives. But people hate the left. They're working hand in hand. They've always been working hand in hand. The right and the left have never, ever, ever had anything to do with representing you. They represent a much larger agenda, which is the end of nation states. Keep you fighting amongst yourselves, disliking each other because one's right and one's left, when in fact, right and left are merely two boots and a tyrannical body marching our people to a place you do not want to arrive at. So after Harper says this is loss of national sovereignty, then the Liberal Tinkerbell Trudeau gets elected. 6 days after the election, he tells Time that Canada is the first post-national state. In other words, we don't control our borders anymore. Through agreements that were first signed, I think, in 1954, and then built on from there, we are now obligated to open our borders via dictate of the United Nations and the global sons of bitches that set it up. So we are at a perilous time here, and people have to wake up to the realities that we face. Now, you know, when I'm sitting there at these all candidates meeting, I can't help but think about that clip of George Bush Jr., which is another Tinkerbell, but he's a conservative or a Republican, same thing. And there's a clip of him at a town hall meeting, and he actually just says it. I mean, this is how weak people have become of the mind, spine, and spirit. It is pathetic. You know, you're Walking Dead. You know, they don't put these shows up, The Walking Dead and zombies. I mean, they're talking about the general population. And the general population doesn't even get it. And they're telling you straight to your face what they're calling you. Most of the people are the Walking Dead. They've been just totally mentally, spiritually, physically destroyed. And now they can do whatever they want with you. And that was the whole plan. Make you so weak you'll never be able to stand up. But George Bush there at the town hall meeting is yammering on. You know, he says, I got to keep repeating this, repeating it. Got to get the propaganda out into the heads. You know, and I can't stop thinking about that when I'm sitting in these all candidates meetings, because, you know, we go to these all candidates meetings so the public shows up and they're hearing what these right-left politicians are saying only the one time. And all it is repeat. Like I did one all candidates meeting Thursday night in a town north of me, and then we had to be at a high school about almost an hour away, 8:30 the next morning. And a morning and a night sitting with these idiots, and I mean they are idiots, listening to exactly the same thing they said the night before and at the other all candidates meetings. You want to stick a fork in your eye. They're not saying anything. They're just repeat, throwing out their party propaganda at the people. Very difficult to take. And these people are so lame. You know, when we went to the high school, F.E. McGill in Wingham, Ontario. These candidates, you know, they had set up the civics teacher, or whatever it was, who set this thing up. So we're going to have like 850 students or something in the gym listening to this political stuff. So they had set up in the hallway. The meeting was going to start at 10 after 9 or something. So they had these tables set up in the hallway when you come into school for this. They called it a meet and greet. So the students could ask questions of the politicians and stuff. Well, I looked at these mainstream politicians, and they really are airheads of extreme. So they go there to their tables, and they have our names all on the tables, hanging off the front of the tables, and they all go there with their buttons and their brochures and all the rest of their bullshit, waiting for the students to flock around them to ask questions. Well, I talk to students all the time, and trust me, they're not interested. So I went out for a smoke. And when I came back in, it was around 9 o'clock, and nobody had stopped at this table. Not one student had stopped at this table. So now I'm watching these idiots pack up their buttons and their brochures and everything in their bags. And then we're heading to the main auditorium, and they have a meet and greet table that's set up at the back of the auditorium for after the all candidates meeting, so that students can ask questions of the politicians. And I know what's going to happen here. So we go through this thing for a couple and a half hours, or the hell it was. Never had one question from a student. Okay, I don't know where the questions came from, but they may have been written by students. But what really irritated me, I'm talking to the civics teacher, is that all of these questions are vetted. So the only question that's being asked is questions that fit within the program, the mental indoctrination program that the school's involved in and the government's involved in. So there was no mic on the floor. Not one of these 800 and some odd students ever had the opportunity to stand up and ask a question. But these politicians, they sat there and they repeat. Same shit I heard the night before. So in our closing remarks, you know, I just asked for a show of hands from the students. And they're pushing this mental health thing so bad. These politicians is nuts again, right? Problem, reaction, solution, create the problem. And it's this inclusivity, this diversity, this LGBTQ, this Black Lives Matter, and yada, just this whole load of shit they're dumping on these kids. And the kids are walking on eggshells now. So you create the anxiety, and then, we have to help the children. So now we're going to really increase the mental health program. And part of the mental health program here in Ontario is the kids will get free pharmaceuticals from the age of 2 to 25. And that's to numb them down even further. So if you don't feel like being inclusive, or you don't particularly care for diversity, and you're not really up on this LGBTQ thing, you're going to find yourself on drugs because you obviously have a mental problem. But I told the students, and I'll tell you too, if I told them this is the best Canadian movie ever made, and it was made by dropouts. One brother dropped out in grade 8, and the other brother, I think, dropped out in grade 9. They were sitting around one day, and they were just shooting the breeze and say, where's money come from? And they didn't know. But see, they asked a question. And you asked a question, it obligates you to go find an answer. So they thought they'd go down to the MP's office, ask the MP, because obviously he'd know. When they walked out of the office, they're scratching their head going, this guy doesn't know jack about anything. Bingo. So they asked some more people and not find no answers. They picked up some cameras and they went and it's just a brilliant movie. It's absolutely brilliant. I don't care what age you are. I don't care if you're 90 or 5. Go watch the movie. So I'm telling the students this. I'm also telling them that they got to hold their teachers' feet to the fire, which, of course, they wouldn't be too excited about. And I tore a hole in this community living stuff. Because what I'm trying to explain to people, you're in a small town. In a small town, you used to look after your own. That's how it operated. But today, the government, I'm sure, for a vote, will tell you they'll come to your home and wipe your butt if required. Well, I have somebody, a friend of mine was with me at the school. Actually, he's driving me around because I'm walking. And see, he some of this stuff he cares about more than I do, but it's all relevant. There was apparently 93 questions. The school claimed there was 93 questions, and the question is, where the 93 questions come from? Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So they're all vetted. So they have 93 questions, but when I asked the students to give me a show of hands, 800 and some students. You got these stupid mainstream parties who don't have any clue what they're even dealing with, just repeating the same shit they repeated every other all candidates meetings. They're like little puppets, So when I asked the student body, how many of you in this room are even interested in politics? And like about 4 hands came up. So, the politicians don't even tune into anything. They're just like robots. Repeat. Doesn't matter what the age group is, doesn't matter, if it's urban or rural. They just repeat the same shit over and over and over and over and over again. Just like George Bush at the town hall meeting. So, I was thinking I was going to get ragged on a little bit by the teachers because I don't pull any punches, and just say it as it is. And I was kind of surprised because there was a couple of guys in wheelchairs down on the floor at the front of the auditorium. So when we came down off the stage, this one guy in a wheelchair, a really bright-eyed guy, man. He just raises his fist up in the air, so we punch knuckles and do a handshake and high five, and that he got what I was saying. this overarching government crap. I mean, if he's in a wheelchair and he's got some physical problems, they're going to try and control every aspect of his life, and he's probably pissed right off about it. But these do-gooders, they don't get any of this stuff. They're the mentally ill. They're really mentally ill. And so, you know, it was a strange situation there at the high school. So, you know, we're just trying to get some stuff through. And then I got an email from the executive of Community Living, who is having a little bit of a problem about what I said at the school and would like me to clarify it. So that will be interesting, because she says she's somewhat bewildered. And so I'd like her to clarify that, because I'm completely bewildered about what you people are even up to. And you're only bewildered about what I said. So we'll have a conversation about that probably tomorrow morning. Now, we have some bigger problems here. We have dissidents are being jailed now. Tony, I think his name is Tony Robinson, in Ireland, I believe he is. I'll have to look this up, because I think he may have got a year in jail. Let me see if I can find some of this stuff here. No, that's not what I want. Let me go here. Yeah, Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson, I believe, is from Ireland. And I think he's been in politics. And this is about Tommy Robinson fighting for the forgotten people, independent reporter bringing you the truth and stories others try to hide. www.tommyrobinson.online. Now he's done quite a few videos. I've watched a couple of them. Actually, he's written a book here, Enemy of the State. So he's apparently in jail right now. Let me see. This all has to do with the influx of migrants into Ireland. I can't. I'll have to Google something here. There are lots of. Let's see. They're looking to raise money. There's some. I have to look this up. And then we also have a couple of people, a woman and a man, who are members. Well, they're kind of the leaders of Britain First, and they've been jailed. They're being jailed because they're standing up for their communities and their people. It used to be in the old days, if you stood up for your people, you were a hero. And now our heroes are being jailed for speaking out. And that's pathetic. That is really, truly pathetic. It used to be people would get behind a man or a woman who was speaking out on behalf of their people. Now most of them people are afraid. They don't want to get in trouble. They would just as soon sit back and be quiet. Well, the nations their forefathers built are destroyed without any pushback whatsoever. And this has to stop. I don't know how I do know how we became so weak. It's your public school system, which was specifically designed to do exactly what it's done to you. You know, people are complaining about what's going on in the schools with the children today, but you came through the same school system, and you didn't notice what was being done to you. And those who came before you came through the system, and they didn't realize what was happening to them. You know, the brainwashing has been going on for many, many, many decades. And most don't even know what's happening to them. And as Warburg said in 1950, there will be a world government by consent or by conquest. And we're consenting to our own demise. That's really pathetic. Just a second, I have somebody on a telephone here. Hello. Hey, dude, what's up? Yeah, I'm doing a show. So I got it. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I got to get off of this and get back on that. But I'll try and hook up with you later. Okay? All right, bye. Yeah, that was Duck calling in about some stuff. I may bring him in later. There's anyways, we have a problem here. The question is how we're going to fix it. Now, these people like Tommy Robinson has dedicated himself to attempting to wake up his population. The people who are in jail, who are the heads of Britain First. I mean, this is so silly, you know. You say, what's the name of your group? Britain First. Well, that sounds reasonable. So it's about Britain first. Yeah. So it's about what's best for Britain first. Yeah. It's about what's best for British people first. Yeah. And yet these people are in jail. You know, the entire judicial system, police, military, are all on the side of the globalists. And what's the plan? What's the ultimate plan? End of nation states. And they flung open our borders. How can your federal government throw open the borders to your country. And a whole bunch of people think it's a good idea. This is how insane the people have become. They've turned your nation into an asylum of mental illness. And they're the ones that infuse the mental illness into your brains. And they told you this is what they were going to do. I mean, you can go back and back and back and back and dig out the documents. They told you exactly how they're going to take you down. But nobody ever reads anything. Nobody ever asks any questions. You know, you just don't find people asking questions. Lots of people bitching and complaining, but nobody asking, why is this happening in our country? If you ask that simple question, you're going to have to go find an answer for it. You're not going to like what you find, but they tell you exactly what they're doing, how they're doing it, why they're doing it. And the media is not going to tell you because they're on board with it. I mean, Rockefeller, when he thanked the media for remaining silent all these decades, because if the media had not been on board, we would have never got our plan in place. Your local politicians, your school boards, your provincial politicians, your federal politicians, your media, your churches. Don't forget the churches. Okay, if you go to a church still, you ought to back your preacher up against the wall and ask him or her some serious questions. Why are you promoting the opposite of what you're preaching? But these people all gave up their souls. They sold them. The whole works I just described have all sold their souls. They're the deceivers, the manipulators, the liars. And if you're sitting there thinking, oh, my preacher wouldn't lie to me, ask him some simple questions. Why are we bringing these migrants in here? What's the purpose? And what's the outcome? They ain't going to be able to answer you a straight question. I've had preachers run from me. And I'm not trying to bastardize them or anything. I'm just asking them simple questions. And they know they can't answer those questions. They get very uncomfortable and they run. Now, when you got your preachers running from the truth, you got some problems on your hands. So it doesn't matter where you go, whether you go to a school or a church or you're a member of a union, none of it matters. All of this stuff has been infiltrated. All of the leaders of these groups have sold themselves. And everywhere you go, you're getting repeated the same messages at the same time. So they're always suggesting things to you. Be it climate change, sustainability, inclusiveness, diversity, whatever the hell the subject is that week, it's all coming at you from everywhere that you are attached to. And you just don't ask any questions like, why is everybody, where the hell did this diversity shit come? Where did this inclusiveness shit come from? We never talked about it before, and now all of a sudden it's be jammed down our throat everywhere we go. Well, just think of George Bush. Got to keep repeating this stuff. Get the propaganda in your head. Remember when they went into Iraq, terrorism, right? Just keep repeating it till it gets into your head, until you can't deal with it anymore. You say, fine, go bomb the sons of bitches. I don't care, just shut up. Yet guys like Tommy Robinson and the people from Britain First are sitting in jail. Now, Monica Schaefer from Jasper, Canada, Jasper, Alberta, I guess it is sitting in a high security jail in Germany. Now, she was propagandized from a little girl in school that Hitler and the Nazis slaughtered 6 million Jews. And she's convinced because repetition. Never went to check it out, just accepted what the school was telling her, was angry with her mother most of her life because she couldn't understand why the German people wouldn't have went and stood up against this mass slaughter of 6 million Jews. And her mother says, well, we didn't know anything about it. Well, why didn't you know anything about it? I mean, if there's a slaughter going on in your country of 6 million people, you'd think you'd pretty much know about it. It wasn't until later in life that Monica started doing some research and realized why her mother didn't hear about it, because it didn't bloody happen. So now Monica, who went over to Germany, I think, to listen to some other lady sitting in an audience, she gets picked up and gets thrown in a high security jail. Now, while our government here in Canada is opened our borders to anyone and everyone, our government will not lift one finger to help Monica Schaefer out of that jail. Then you get Canadians go, oh, she deserves to be in jail. She's pro-Hitler, pro-Nazi. No, she's pro-truth. She's pro-truth. So even though she's an extremely quiet lady, I think she's in her 60s, violin player, that's a threat to the world, I guess. She's sitting in a jail in Germany. The one thing I don't like is these labels. And they have, on Tommy Robinson here, they have right-wing activist Tommy Robinson reportedly jailed after filming outside child whatever, another trial, I guess. There you go again. You see, divide and conquer. Well, Tommy Robinson, he's one of those ultra right-wing guys. He's like a pro-Hitler guy and all this kind of stuff. He deserves to be in jail. That's what this labeling does. Tommy Robinson, from what I've seen of the man, is nothing more than a moral man who is trying to tell you, the idiots, what's actually taking place in the country. That doesn't make him right wing. It makes him a man of conscience, a man who knows right from wrong or right from left, not in the political sense. You got to lose the labels. I am not right or left. I'm simply a man who was born in this country called Canada, and I intend to defend it and the people in it. I don't give a damn about the country so much. I care about the people. The people make the nation. Anything that was ever constructed in your nation was constructed by the men and women in your nation. Politicians never built a damn thing. You know, they'll stand there at the podium, you know, our conservative government turned this, we built a great country. You didn't build shit. You know, there's a line in that Bob Dylan song. I forgot what the name of the song was now. Masters of War. where the one line in there, you build to destroy. And that's a perfect line, because that's exactly what they do. They build to destroy, to advance their programs to the next stage. This country that we built is now being destroyed. And yet most of the people in this country want to remain ignorant. They actually wish to remain ignorant. They do not want to know. They can't handle the reality. Like little children, afraid of the boogeyman under their bed. Well, the boogeyman ain't under your bed. It's right standing in front of your face. And there's no need to be afraid of the boogeyman. So, my hat goes off to Tommy Robinson. It goes off to the two, the man and woman, I forgot their names right, from Britain First, who are sitting in jail. And I hope, I'm really hoping, because my attitude is that as this moves forward, when they start throwing these people in jail, the other people are going to say, this is bullcrap. We got to fill that void now. We got to step forward. In natural sense, that's what would happen. I'm hopeful it's going to happen, but I can't be certain it's going to happen. I know it took me, let's see, in how many years is this now? This is like 12 years of my life, trying to get people to stand up, not with rifles, but with a strong moral fiber. This is a game, it's a fight, moral against amoral. And most people generally are moral, but they don't know how to activate it. So they submit to the amoral. It's easier than standing up. So I'm hopeful that people will continue to step forward. But in 12 years, you know, anybody I ever got to run, I had to fight with them. You know, and some of these people were pretty intelligent. They know what the hell's going on. And they bitch and complain about it constantly. But when you ask them to actually step forward, oh, I don't want to do that. Well, then shut up with your bitching and complaining. You know, knowledge is power. The people who control the world know knowledge is power, and they use that knowledge for their empowerment. Yet we, who are bitching and complaining about being stomped on by this small group of men and women who rule this planet, don't want to use your knowledge to gain power. You just use your knowledge to bitch and complain. Well, bitching and complaining has never produced any results, other than maybe to encourage other people to bitch and complain. But nobody is moving forward unless they step forward. Now, I had a bit of an argument with a farmer friend of mine who's a very intelligent guy and knows a lot of stuff. But, you know, he was rattling on at me about how this whole going in politics is a waste of time. Well, no, it's not a waste of time. It gives you an opportunity to speak to people. It gives you an opportunity to shine the light on what these mainstream politicians are up to. If you're not there to do that, they get a free ride. And most people don't care about politics except when there's an election, so at least their ears are kind of semi-open at these all-candidates meetings. So you get a room, you know, a couple, 300 people. The school was over 800 people. You know, and I got to take some real shots at the teachers and the government and so on and so forth. And you know, I talked to a few students afterwards, and they get it. The ones I talked to anyways get it. So that's a good idea that the students are starting to, you know, think, what the hell are these people up to that are teaching us? Why? So I'm sure when I was in the school auditorium there and told the students that they had a duty to hold their teachers' feet to the fire, I'm not sure how the teachers took that, nor do I care, because they're the problem, not the solution. The kids in the school are the solution. So we all have our duties. But I really feel bad for these people who are getting chucked in jail. I feel bad that these migrants are coming in and taking over towns everywhere in the West, and the people just sit back and do nothing. That is really some pathetic. Now, I think we must be going into break here pretty quick, are we? Just let me see. Where is this? I think probably we're going to break here in a minute or so. And then we'll get back, and if somebody wants to discuss some of this stuff, I may just pull some people into the show and go from there with it. I'm really quite tired today. I got so much stuff on my mind. I got another all candidates meeting to do on Tuesday. I think I have to go to a hospital tomorrow morning. The CEO wants to talk to me about how the hell we're going to fix the healthcare system here. All the equipment in the hospital's falling apart. You know, we're the richest country in the world based on resources per capita, and our country's falling apart. The homelessness is growing exponentially. The hunger is growing exponentially. We're the richest country on the freaking planet. And I hear music, so we'll be back in about 4 minutes. Hang with us. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Ron Stevens. This is Rock the Boat right here on Revolution Radio, also being fed over to UCY.tv. And, this is what I'm talking about. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Bitching and complaining. People make me sick to my stomach, actually. Sitting here doing these shows, it's being simulcast over to UCY from Revolution Radio. I look in the chat, and what do I see? Bitching and complaining. Bunch of freaking little stupid children is all I can see here. Revolution breaks do not show on UCY TV. Yeah, they don't. No, not real good continuity with the crossover and different formats. Tough luck. Tough friggin' luck. Does it really matter, folks? No, it doesn't matter. Not one freaking iota does it matter. We go on break from Revolution Radio, and for whatever reason, and I don't know what the reason is, nor do I care what the reason is, if you got dead air for a few minutes over on UCY, okay? Everybody's working on shoestrings here. Everybody is busting their ass. And, we don't hear the break from Revolution Radio. Fine, you want to hear the break? You're listening on UCY, you want to hear the break? Simple. Go and click into Revolution Radio and click on play, and you'll hear the damn break. Freaking pathetic. Mindless, stupid, childlike nonsense. You wonder why your country's such a freaking mess. We're broadcasting on Revolution Radio, and we're simulcasting over to UCY. You got a problem with the break being dead? Then go click into Revolution Radio and listen to the break. Not too damn difficult, is it? Jesus. Man, oh man. Anyways, it is top of the hour, so I want to thank Revolution Radio and UCY for being on air, period. Both of these stations are listener supported, so start supporting and quit whining and bitching. I expect more out of listeners than that. The continuity's broken. Tough titties. Figure it out. You're big boys and girls. Oh yeah, but the government does everything for us. We don't have to think, obviously. Obviously. This is the problem. Anyways. How many of you listeners out there have ever put yourself forward in a political situation? I'm thinking none. Why is that? Well, because it's a waste of time. Right. Freaking brains have gone lame, people. Your countries have been taken down. You ain't going to fix the country listening to radio stations. That's a fact. You're not going to fix anything by having all this knowledge some of you have and not taking it to the general public. This idea that you're going to fix the problem via the internet, well, that's a case of insanity right there. If you ain't prepared to get up and get moving and get involved, then all the knowledge you possess is basically useless. If you're going to let these political clowns have a free ride, then you are part of the problem, not part of the solution. Now, I may have hooked into something here with the Libertarian Party because I was originally going to run as an independent just to hold these jackasses' feet to the fire. The Politico. And, even my buddy who's driving me around, we did the all candidates meeting in Port Elgin. And that's the only all candidates meeting where the questions aren't pre-vetted. But it's also the only all candidates meeting that is absolutely full of players. Well, the questions aren't vetted. The people that come up to the mic, the vast majority of them, are pushing the very agenda that we're fighting against. They're plants. And I know some of these people from past experiences. But anyways, we got into this question about this lady comes up to the mic. This is how pathetic this is. This lady comes up to the mic, and she lives in Clinton, Ontario, which is a population, I doubt if it's much over 3,000 people, if it is that, whining and bitching about not having transit. Because the government parties are all pushing transit. Why are they pushing transit? Because they want you out of your cars. They want to control where you go, when you go, where you go. But she's bitching about transit in this little wee shitbox town. And the mainstream parties, oh yes, we're going to invest all this money in transit. My answer to this lady is, listen, how the hell did your forefathers get around? They figured it out. You got a friend? Apparently not, because you can't get a ride anywhere. But my advice to you, my dear, is go do a fundraiser in your little town, buy a used bus, hire a bus driver. You gave somebody a job, and you didn't. It's all paid for. It's not borrowed money by the government at interest. Just get it done. This other lady got up and wanted to know what we're going to do about violence against women. Well, I guess we'll just shoot all the men. I guess that would be the easy answer. But I just told her, I said, look, because you get all these are all planted questions. Although they're not vetted, they're planted. Oh, they're vetted in that way. It looks like an open forum. It's not really an open forum. It's a bunch of plants. And told her that after these other clowns get on, well, our government will do this, and our government will do that, and our government will do this if you vote for us, yada, yada, yada. It's all the same message. That ain't much to say about violence against women other than heads up to the guys in the audience, and that is, if you hit a woman, understand one simple concept: you ain't a man. And they got on about this gender crap, and I just told them that the children are being indoctrinated in the school system. It was LGBTQ, and I called it LGBTQWXYZ. And a big groan come out of the audience. Some boos and nonsense come out of the audience. I think at one point, it wasn't reported, but my buddy said I called them idiots, which they are. And after I just told him, I said, I don't give a damn what you're attracted to. What I'm trying to explain to you is your children are being indoctrinated in the schools to become part of this movement. You see, LGBTQ, WXYZ don't procreate. Therein lies part of the reason for that movement. It's So anyways, after this was over, some intelligent people came up to me and said, you know, what you're saying is all correct. Well, thank you very much. My buddy comes over to me. He's never been involved in this stuff before. Doesn't know nothing about politics. And he comes over to me and he says, we need to go now. I go, why? What's the hurry? No, you don't understand. We need to get out of here. I don't think this is safe. Like he thinks, the LGBTQ is going to beat me up? Like, give me a freaking break. But anyways, I was talking to a guy who's a libertarian candidate who's been all over the world. He's an IT guy, production guy, and we got talking about this stuff. And what I found about the Libertarian Party is most of them used to be NDP or conservative or liberal, and it's just it seems like a group of people that finally woke up and got their shit together. Excuse my language. I'm on Revolution Radio. I'll be careful. Apologize for that. But I've been telling people for years and years and years and years, the power in your nation does not lay at the federal level. It does not lay at the state level. It lays at the municipal level or the county level, because that's the only place people live. Nobody lives at the state level. Nobody lives at the federal level. Everybody lives at the local level. That's where the power is. That's where the people live. And I've been trying to get people to run in municipal elections because that's where the global to local, giving all the power to the global, is being instituted in every small community, city in the nations. And this guy's a numbers guy. He's a production guy. And he was the first guy that when I explained to him what we got to do, because the municipal elections are coming right after the provincial elections, and they've set it up this way so that they can run their propaganda on a steady course. And then next year we have the federal election. So bang, bang, bang. This is takedown time. And I told him that, you know, if you're a numbers guy, simple numbers state, you know, if we run 3 candidates for every one of their candidates, we'll get majority vote. It's that simple, because we changed the message. You got 7 counselors out there running, pushing the Marxist agenda, the globalist agenda, and you run 21 pushing a different message, the real message that needs to be heard. Your odds on not getting at least 4 elected is extremely small at that point. You get 4 in the council, you got majority vote on every single issue. And because you're in the council, you can teach those who live in your community what the hell's going on. You now have a voice that you ain't getting any other way. You ain't getting it on online radio. You ain't getting it on blogs. Okay? Because everybody can know everything, and you're still going to get run over. There's an old saying, you know, you will affect politics, or politics will affect you. So you have to get control of the political system. Once we get control of the political system, then we can kill the party system, because the party system was set up specifically to divide the people. Instead of 2 opposing sides, we drop a round table in there. You can keep your same electoral districts, only this time, instead of a party deciding who's going to be their candidate for your area, because you didn't choose them, the party chose them. So now you got a choice of voting between 2 or 3 major parties, but you didn't pick the candidates. The parties picked the candidates. So you're now voting not for someone to represent you, but someone to represent the party. You never vote for the leader. The only place you can vote for the leader of the party is if you live in the electoral district of that leader. So we really don't have any capacity to make any difference the way this is set up. They just keep your same electoral districts, and then you, the people of your electoral districts, you pick the man or woman from your district that you feel is best able to represent your district. Now we've got a real government. A government by and for the people. The government you have now is by and for the party. And the parties are busy taking down your country. I mean, for 12 years, I've been trying to get people to get up off their sorry butts and get involved. Now, this young farmer, in his, I think he's just his early 30s, who is really concerned about this. I don't understand the politics. I know what's wrong. I know right from wrong. That's all you got to know is right from wrong. If you know right from wrong, then you best throw your hat in the ring. And you better go there and be able to stick a fork in their eye. The general public now is willing to stand up. They want to stand up. And either we're going to bring them to the next stage, or they're going to stay stuck where they are because they don't see any options. Well, we voted right last time and they screwed us, so I think I'll vote left this time. Oh no, they screwed us the time before. Well, let's see. You know, why do people stop voting? If you ask people why they stop voting, most of them will tell you the same thing. What's the point of voting? Doesn't matter who you vote for, you get the same garbage coming at you. Exactly. The right and the left are completely merged. They've always been merged. They've always been two boots on the same tyrannical body marching you to somewhere you don't want to end up. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. If you don't like our programs, then you can vote us out in 4 years. Fine. Okay, we did that. We voted you out. Now we voted these guys, and we're getting the same crap coming at us. Yeah, haven't you ever heard of right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left? You don't have a government. There is no government. There's a bunch of tyrannical, amoral a-holes that have got control of every aspect of your life. I know our forefathers, they get out of their graves, man, they would punch us square in the face. We have become so stupid and so lame and so pathetic and so used to making excuses for what's going on and never standing up to do anything about it. I mean, I can't tell you how much I dislike these all candidates meetings. I really can't. It's the way these things are set up. You might as well be in grade, I don't know, maybe grade 3. You know, you got your moderators, you got this, you got that, and it's just like something that would be in grade 3. Who's this? I don't know who that was, but anyways, we got to pick it up, folks. You know, we cannot win a shoot 'em up war. That's an impossibility. And they know it. And we don't want violence anyways. What do you want to run around killing each other for? All we need to do is take back control of our nations. Now they're taking them down without a military war, and we're going to take it back without violence. This is a spiritual, psychological war. I keep saying this, but it makes perfect sense. They want the violence. So therefore, you can't give them what they want. It's about strengthening your spirits, your minds, and your spines, and having the ability to stand up and say no. That's the fix. No, we're not doing this anymore. Period. No, well, why? Just half a second. I want to see who this is. Hello. You want me to bring you in here or what? Well, I can bring you in. All right. Ciao. But you got to get strong, people. You know. We can talk about legal and law till we're blue in the face. That ain't going to change anything. You know, we can talk about, you know, the right and the left till we're blue in the face. Ain't going to change nothing. We can talk about the deception of the religion. Ain't going to change anything. Okay. The internet really, I think, has basically isolated those with knowledge. You know, people think for some reason this internet has the ability to spread the word. It does to a point. But I mean, if we're doing a show and somebody's listening from Brazil and somebody's listening from England and somebody's listening from Pittsburgh and somebody's listening from Toronto, that still doesn't get us to the local level. Okay? It doesn't get us to the local level. Now, if the guy in Pittsburgh is working at the local level, and the guy in Brazil is working at the local level, and the guy in Toronto is working at the local level, we can get somewhere. But the internet, while it's a wonderful toolbox, that's all I've ever looked at the internet as, is a toolbox. It's a great research tool because I used to do research in the libraries through the reference books. And that is a pain. That is time-consuming. It's slow. It was a good training place to learn how to do research when the internet came along. It makes it extremely fast now. But you still have to ask the questions. Still got to ask the questions. And that main question is why? Who, what, where? And when is all well and good, until you ask why. The why is what drives you to find out who, what, where, when, and put it all together. But the wealth of knowledge out there is amazing. And they write everything down. That's the beauty of it. They write everything down. Silence is consent. We wrote it down. You didn't read it. You didn't say nothing. You remained silent, so therefore you consented. That's how these sick people brains operate. So, you know, we got to get the information to the local level. And I've had people screaming, "Oh no, the internet's the answer. The internet's the answer." Well, I don't give it. I don't care what town you live in. You get out, walk down the street, start knocking some doors, and see how many people understand what's going on. And I think you'll find the percentage is extraordinarily tiny. You gotta get to the local level. You got to run in your local elections. If you know that your country's in trouble and you can't bring yourself to run at the local level, which is by far the simplest, easily less expensive frickin' way to do politics, then you're of no use. You're absolutely of no use. You become, when you have the knowledge that's required and you don't use it, then you become part of the problem, not part of the answer. because you're sitting on all this knowledge, but you won't get up off your butt to go and use that knowledge somewhere you can influence, which is the only place you can influence is at the local level. You know, you could be a star internet YouTuber or online radio host, and you ain't accomplishing jack. Period. As you walk out your door and you walk down your street and you knock on them doors, and you'll see how much influence you have at your local level. Squat. But you got the knowledge. And therefore, you have an obligation to run at the local level. It costs you like $100. $100 stinking dollars to go and run as a counselor. Now you get 4 out of 7 seats, all of a sudden, you own the show. You're not whining and bitching. Look what the council's doing. Look what the council's doing. They're pushing through Agenda 21 and 2030. Once you got majority vote in that council, now you got a hammer. And now you got a voice. And now you can speak to the people in your community where the boots are, where the power is. And you can influence those people to become strong of the spirit, mind, and spine, and teach them how to stand up and say no. That's how we take our nations back. That's the only way that we can take our nations back. And if you ain't prepared to do what you know you need to do, then you are part of the problem, not part of the fix. Now, some people may think that's a little rude. Call it tough love, call it whatever you want to call it. But that's a fact. It's an undeniable fact. I hate politics. But I'm running the provincial election. But then I know what politics is. It's the controlling arm of the countries. And if those who are taking our countries down have control of the political system, then it doesn't matter what you say or do, you ain't going to change anything. Our job is to get control of that system and then destroy that system. No more right or left. No more parties picking the candidate you're going to vote for. That is not for and by the people. And that's supposedly what America was built upon, by and for the people. Well, that may have been around for a very short time, but it hasn't been around since. The ideology is perfect. But that's not what's running our countries. The exact opposite is running our countries. The world is upside down. We got to flip it right side up, and the only ones that can flip it are the ones with the knowledge. And that obligates those with the knowledge to get to work. And you're not ever going to change anything on the internet. Plain and bloody simple. Cannot be done. They can take your site down anytime they want. That's a fact. They can block your site so those looking for it can't find it anytime they want. So there's only one answer, and that is to engage. And if we can't bring ourselves to engage, then we've proven ourselves rather useless. We are not part of the solution. We are part of the problem. Now, I mean, people used to say to me when I was younger, would you join the army? No. Not in a million freaking years. Would you go overseas to a war? Not in a million years. If you look at America, America was set up not to go to war. America was set up to be independent and free. America was set up so that if you attack us, then we will defend ourselves and we will win. But that's not how it operates now. It hasn't been for a very, very long time. They set up America as the military, and up here in Canada, it was always, the Americans, they're always doing wars. Well, this is right-left again. Okay, so Canada was set up as the empathetic country, the country that will help with the peace after America's bombed the shit out of somebody. Okay, right, left. Each playing their part. Neither of them defending their people or representing their people. Both of them representing the goals of the globalists. So you can look at it as look at your politics as right-left. You can look at America and Canada as right-left. Okay, all marching us to where we don't want to go. Ever. And now I'm hearing people, I get people put stuff on Facebook and that with tears and little things you put up there, little happy faces and whatnot. And I see people with tears. Well, I guess we're screwed. Well, you're only screwed if you think you're screwed. You're only screwed if you accept you're screwed. I don't like weak people. Never did. When you get put against the wall and you don't know how to push back, then that leaves you cowering in the corner. Even a toad will fight you. You put any animal up against the wall, they'll fight to get free. Except us. But you can't brainwash a toad that I'm aware of, or a cat, or a dog. But they figured out how to brainwash men and women and children. So now when they get you up against the wall, the very one that gets you up at the wall, you're asking the one that puts you against the wall to save you. An animal ain't that stupid. But through constant propaganda and mind manipulation, we go to those who are abusing us, asking them to help us. They create the problem, and then they give us the solution. And most people don't understand the problem came from the very one offering you the solution. So that really doesn't make us as smart as an average animal. They know when they're trapped. They know when they're in danger. They can sense it. And you got one of two choices when you know you're against the wall an animal, once against the wall, in so many cases, if they think what's breathing down on them has the opportunity or the ability to really hurt them or kill them, they're looking for an escape route. They're looking to flee. But if they realize they can't flee because they're cornered, even if they know the odds on them winning this scrap is not so good, they won't just cower in the corner. They will fight, making them smarter than us. Now, unlike animals, we have intellect. Or we're supposed to have intellect anyways. We're supposed to be able to figure this stuff out. And that's why I say it's a spiritual psychological war. They've pushed us against the wall, basically using psychology, but we don't seem to understand it. Now, we have the same tools to fight them as they have to fight us. Only there's a hell of a lot more of us than there are of them. So when the people stand up and say no and mean it, well, it's about over at that time. Well, they'll kill us all with nuclear bombs. Well, just sit in your corner and wait then. Cower in that corner. You know? Don't fight back. Just live in fear. And everything will be fine. You know, it's that pathetic. You know, the idea, I hear so many people saying, oh, I guess we're screwed now. The country's done. Okay, where are you going from there? You know, finish your statement. I guess we're screwed. And? Well, not much we can do about it. Really? Really? There's everything you can do about it. There's no mistake in that. If they can take us down through consent, then we can take our nations back through consent. But if the people generally don't get it, and there's no one on the political side on their side, we ain't going to move nothing forward. Simple as that. I was trying to figure out how to get Duck in here. Let me try this. Hopefully we can pull this off. Oh, it does it. User not online. Try it that way. Maybe we can get them. You know, I've been at this since the 70s. That's what really freaks me out.
You got him.
I got him. But back in the 70s, I mean, a man in his early 20s in the 70s understood what was coming. Understood when he sit down and analyze the political system, you understand it's nothing more than a damn dictatorship. Be it the President of the United States, because you have executive order, which bypasses every damn thing, which makes him the king or the dictator. And the same thing here in Canada. Once you elect a prime minister with a majority government, They can actually string it out for 5 years if they wish. You have a dictator. And when I tried to explain this to people in the 70s, talk about brain dead, man. Well, if you don't like Canada, then move. That wasn't what I was saying, folks. Right? The anger, right, was ridiculous. Now that, okay. Sooner or later, the so-called benevolent dictator is going to turn on you. Once they have you softened up enough that you don't know how to stand up, they're going to go get you. And that's where we are today.
Yeah. So you've got it all figured out that we should all just run for local city council, and that'll fix all of our problems.
No, it won't fix all of our problems.
It won't. We don't have time for that.
No, see, there you go. Typical fucking Canadian. Well, excuse my language. Typical Canadian. Typical Canadian response. There's a typical response for most of the people.
Right, Ron. I'm gonna sit around. Go down doing what I'm doing,
Chris,
and then I'm gonna ask if anybody wants to listen to me to begin with, and then I'm gonna say, "Do you want to run for city council?"
No.
And within 20 years, we're going to be our women are going to be wearing veils, and we're going to be hanging queers from high buildings or dropping them off of them.
What's your solution?
Because we're going to be Muslim in 20 years.
Well, see, now this is how much you've sucked up the psychology. That's what I call this a spiritual psychological war.
Right.
You come to some kind of ridiculous conclusion that in 20 years, women are all going to be wearing veils or burqas or whatever the hell they call them thing.
Whatever they are, yeah.
And we're all going to be under Sharia law. And
we're already there.
Right? No, you said in 20 years, this is what it's going to be.
No, that's complete. We're already there now. I got a sign.
I tell you what, in 20 years, your local council is going to be filled with Muslims.
Correct.
If you don't fill it yourself. Somebody's going to get control. Well, Jesus. Well, you're speaking to me now.
And I'm doing what I do, but I got 99% of even white European bloods are looking at me like I got a hole in my head.
Okay.
So that ain't working too well.
So their attitude is a reason that you can't run for local council. Your job is to wake those stupid people up or ignore them, and get something done. Okay? If you have control of the local council, then you have the voice that is required. You had a uniform voice pushing.
I don't disagree with you, Ron. I do not disagree with you. What I disagree on is we're running out of time.
I told people in 1970s what was coming.
You don't see it now, Ron? It's a little quicker than then. I grew up in the 70s.
I know it's quicker now because the people who were trying to wake up the people way back in the 60s and 70s sound like you now today. Oh, what Europeans think I'm crazy. Tough luck. You're not crazy. Okay? They're the crazy lot. So why would you let the crazies influence
how does that solve our problems?
Processes?
So they agree that I'm crazy. You agree that I'm not.
Yeah.
How's that going to get me a seat in city council?
How's it going to get you a seat in city council? I don't know why this is so difficult for people to understand. There's 130,000 people thereabout live in Kingston, Ontario. The max you have on your council is 9. I would suspect in a town that size it's 7. Okay? You got 135,000 people or whatever living in Kingston. You got 7 people pushing this globalist propaganda down the throats of the population. Most of the population are immune to this. They're just going along, going to work. They don't know one thing or another. Okay, so this little group of 7 people are shoving this program down, which you complain about every time I talk to you about what's going on in Kingston. The simple solution is go and get 21 people out of a population of 130,000 people to run for city council who understand what the hell's going on, and there has to be at least 7 people in Kingston that understand what the hell's going on.
Yeah, well, when I have to go through 130,000 people to find 7, Ron, it's pretty difficult for one man. And I'll tell you, I have been doing that, and it's not working.
Excuses every time.
You're not even listening. You're not even listening.
Every word you're hearing. How am I, one man, going to go find 7 people out of 130,000 people to run for council? I heard it.
The
answer is get to it.
Before you, I used to listen to Will Roberts.
The Muslims in the grocery store. You complain about how your neighborhood is going from white to something else.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so
yes, I do.
Canadian of bitching and complaining, but will not.
Do you think? You're trying to tell me, Ron, trying to tell me to go out and do something. I'm going out and I'm doing something, and every time I tell you my experiences, you say I'm bitching and complaining. How are you helping? How are you helping?
What do you want me to do?
Well, you're telling me I'm supposed to go out there and get 7 people to run for council or 21 people to run for council. Well, I'm doing it, and it's not working.
Then you run. Can't do it, huh?
You're not really answering the question. You're just saying get it done is all you're saying. How we get it done, nobody knows other than weapons.
You're telling me that this country is going to be a Muslim country in 20 years.
Damn straight.
Okay, now you've already accepted that in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so therefore you have no capacity whatsoever to make change because you've already accepted in your mind that we're going to be a Muslim country in 20 years. So what you're saying is
don't speak on my behalf, Ron. Don't speak on my behalf. I never said that.
I'm just repeating what you're saying.
Well, I'm out there. I'm pulling friggin' signs up that the Muslims are putting down. I'm pulling them up and taking them into my fucking garage, my freaking garage, and
they're going to run those very people that are putting the signs in the ground that you're pulling up and putting in your garage. They're going to end up with the vote at your local council.
As I'm walking around trying to wake people up, which I'm not getting any success in.
There has got to be a group of people in Kingston. Okay,
You keep going on about Kingston. What about Quebec City? What about Brandon, Manitoba? What about Texas? Oh, that's fun. Oh, what about Los Angeles? You notice Los Angeles is pretty much taken over right now. And there's lots of people out there, Ron, trying to wake people up. And Los Angeles is pretty much Mexican. You can't go to a city council in Los Angeles, California, without them having to speak when it's questioned.
Okay, there's the outcome. You're not there yet in Kingston, but you've already accepted the outcome. That look, you go to
I've never accepted any outcome, Ron. Where are you getting that from?
Los Angeles. I don't understand. I just really don't understand the nonsense that must go through people's heads in this country.
Well,
excuse.
I'm doing everything. I'm doing everything you suggest, Ron. I'm doing everything you suggest, and I'm still a bad guy because I'm not getting results. So what else am I to turn to at this point?
Muslim. I didn't tell any of that shit.
I never.
Right?
Where do you get that from? That's what I do on a personal basis.
Exactly.
That's what I do. I'm frustrated. I'm pissed off.
Well, you
so that's got nothing to do with me personally. What I do personally is me. That's what I do, because I never grew up with this, and it frustrates me. But I mean, when it comes to solving the problem, I'm doing everything you told me I should do. Everything you told me I should do, and I'm not getting any results, Ron.
So you're going to run in the...
I'm getting people looking at me angrily. You're a racist.
No, you're not.
You're a homophobe.
No, you're not.
Yeah, well, but Ron, I still go out there, and I pull those signs up. Every time those friggin' Muslim signs come up, I go over and I pull them out.
I really want you to get a picture of that damn sign, man. I want to see it. I mean, that's
Christian. When Christian comes home, I'm going to send that to you. But you're still. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This is just one small city in comparison to the big picture. We know who's controlling it.
Like I said, I'm extremely happy that I ran into Gene of the Libertarian Party. He sent me some stuff one time. We got talking a little bit. Well, I guess they were afraid, actually, I wasn't going to run as a Libertarian. I was thinking about moving over to being an independent still. But Gene, who made his living on numbers, when I threw that out to him, and the fact that the power is at the local level, not the provincial level or the federal level, his ears perked right up. And as soon as this election's over...
Question everything. Intelligent radio for intelligent people. UCY.TV.
Please understand that. You're my buddy. We're out of here, I guess, folks.